Warm-ups, guys, a common part of any training program. I think all of you will have an appreciation for the benefits of what a warm-up does for us. Whether you're going for a run, a swim, a ride, you're about to jump into the gym and do an S&C session, you're about to kind of go out on a day of hiking, trail running, whatever the activity is. I'd like to think all of us can kind of list a few benefits of what a warm up does for us, and why it's important for us to prepare our body for activity. But the fact is, guys, and this is having conversations with you on a day-to-day basis, like through social media, talking to my clients as well, who are getting their warm ups delivered to them on a daily basis in some shape or form. We neglect it, and if I hold my hand up, I often do sometimes as well. And it's one of those things that there's numerous reasons for it. I think one of the biggest ones is going to be time. If some of us kind of we're time poor in terms of we're trying to cram so much into our life and we're looking to just get out the front door no matter what. But guys, we've got to. There are times when we really have to start doubling down on it, because it can be the thing that it's creating these dysfunctions. It's increasing the likelihood of injury. It's slowing us down. It's slowing your progression down. And it's holding you back, because you're not reinforcing those better behaviors. And so much about our training is about training these better behaviors. And the number one, the thing that you could be doing to improve your movement mechanics, which is going to improve your overall performance, is to reinforce some of those basic movement patterns that you would see in a warm-up. So essentially, guys, like, it should be a non-negotiable within your week. A dynamic warm-up, a mobility warm-up, however you want to term it. And there's so many different ways we can go about it. But what I want to talk about briefly today is just about the benefits, the why, what it can look like, and kind of break down a few of the thought processes around it, and potentially a few of the barriers. So the fact is, guys, preparing your body for the work ahead is what we're looking to do. We have got to make sure we are trying to prevent the onset of injury. We are wanting to get our body ready to take on the challenge of the training session ahead. Whether it's long, whether it's short, whether it's intense, whether it's easy, we want to make sure that we're just moving. We're kind of moving safely and effectively, so we're not going to pick up any random injuries or anything. Because these are the things that are just going to they're just going to slow us down. They're going to stop us from training for week to week. So we've got to be making sure our body's ready for the work ahead. We aren't getting any younger, and we work with individuals from 30 through to 70, 25 through to 70, 80 years old, and we do see a decline in your kind of movement mechanics as the older we get. The more sedentary our job is, the more we have to commute to work. If we find ourselves sitting on a daily basis, there's numerous reasons why we want to be making sure that we are preparing our body for work. But the problems that people are struggling, and the reasons why people are struggling to kind of implement a good training, a good warm-up, is, as I said, it's time, it's potentially the space, the environments that they have around them. They have lack of equipment. They're using these kind of obvious ones as an excuse. Guys, it's not an excuse, because in effect, it's essentially time-wise, you're looking at maybe 2 minutes of proactive work to get a good warm-up in. Space, you can literally do it in your kitchen. You could do it in a hallway before you run out the door. Equipment wise, you don't need any. If you're wearing trainers, that's about as good as it gets. You don't even need that. You could be doing it in your underwear, literally just preparing your body for, just going through a few basic dynamic warm-up exercises. I think innocence is potentially one where a bit naivety, you just don't really know what to do. There's a lack of education and understanding about what those key exercises you could be doing. So you just, you haven't been in the right environments to, and you haven't had the right mentors or coaches to kind of give you those key exercises. But there's also a bit of ignorance, like you kind of just like you're just kind of poo-pooing it. You kind of you're in an environment where people are just gung-ho. They just want to get into training as quickly as possible, and then they're just a bit blasé about whether the importance of it, until they pull a hamstring, until they pull a calf muscle or worse, and then they're kind of thinking, oh, I should have been doing a little bit more to prepare my body. But it's surrounding yourself with the right individuals, surrounding yourself with the right education, surrounding yourself with the right mentors, kind of thing. That's what's going to really, really help you in this environment. But I think one of the biggest ones is overthinking it. I know a lot of our guys, even the education that we're delivering, it's so easy to overthink it. You can be thinking, oh, I've got to, it's going to take me 5, 10, 15 minutes to do a proper warm up. Sometimes if that's not the case, it can literally take you a minute to 2 minutes to just go through a few drills that are just going to get your body fired up and ready to go. You don't need to overthink it. It definitely depends on the type of activity that you're about to embark on, the length of it, the intensity, the complexity of it. But in terms of benefits, guys, why? Like, what's your reason why? What's the buy-in to doing a warm-up? You are, well, literally, there's a great saying, motion is lotion. Like, you've got to do, we want to get the body moving, prime the body, get the blood flowing. You're trying to increase your body and muscle and muscular, the temperature of your muscles. We're trying to increase the synovial fluid around the joint. We're trying to kind of, just make you feel less clunky, create a little bit more synergy within your body. Like, so just moving through those basic squat patterns, hinging through the hips, standing on one leg, like these kind of basic movement patterns are just going to get you firing up those key areas. We're going to be reducing the risk of injury and we can make those bold claims because you're going to be starting out your training session more engaged mentally and physically. You're going to have, as I said, prepared your body for the work ahead. You're not just going to suddenly start hitting the pavement or suddenly hitting the pedals or whatever, and just suddenly shocking the body with that kind of increase in stimulus. Now, you would have already kind of subtly asked your body to do some work, some very, very low yield work. And so you're kind of bridging that gap. And so your body's not suddenly just going from zero to hero kind of thing. You're kind of just you're slowly bringing that work, that intensity up. In terms of the mental game, yeah, you're getting yourself in the right headspace. If you've just woken up, you're literally half an hour of being awake, and you're suddenly out the door. You could slip off the curb, you could stumble, there's numerous different environments you could easily injure yourself. So being in the zone, just kind of going through the session in your head in the first couple of minutes in your warm-up, perfect. It's just a great way. We talk about the neuromuscular control by being kind of in the moment, by kind of going through some basic drills. You're kind of connecting mind and body, so you're kind of going to be a little bit more kind of, definitely going to be a bit more control in the way you behave in your behavior. You're going to have you're just going to be functioning a bit more with a bit more efficiency. So there's the benefits of being more flexible, being more mobile. There's huge kind of huge benefits to just doing a few minutes worth of work, and especially if you're about to move into a complex or intense environment where you're maybe running alongside others on a track, or in a group session. If you're moving with weight, if you're moving in like if there's an environment where if you're on a bike, you're kind of moving, you're out on the road or out on a trail. Like, there's complexity to the environments we're going into, so you want to be preparing your body for it. But again, guys, we don't need to be overthinking it. The time frame for this is minimal. It's minutes of work. The space you need to prepare yourself is very minimal. It's literally 2 foot square. Like, nothing. There's nothing to it. And then in terms of equipment, you don't need any. And if you want to put some bells and whistles on it, then we get some resistance bands out, and that can be hanging off your coat peg, and you can literally just pop, drilling a few exercises. Yeah. So I think I think sometimes when we gain more knowledge in this area, we start to then think too much about it. And this is where I think a lot of people struggle. But also maybe laziness. They just want to get into the nuts and bolts of it. But only when you are, we don't want to be reacting to a situation. We don't want to be then starting to have these better behaviors after we've had an injury or we have had these setbacks. We want to be installing these behaviors now as a prevention. And warm-ups are one of the best way of going about it. Yeah, and there's numerous different modes and methods we can talk about, but I just want to go through a few top tips. Okay, just to make things even easier, I want you to select 2 to 5 key exercises that are going to target key areas that you need to work to, that you need to be working on. If you have lower back, kind of hip, kind of issues, you know that you sit down a lot, you spend a lot of time sitting down. You've got quite a short range of through your hamstrings and your adductors and your lower back and glutes. Well, they're going to be areas that we need to be working on. So going into some basic bodyweight squats, going into some leg swings, some hip openers, something that gets into those key muscle groups very quickly with 5 to 10 reps. if you've got kind of upper shoulders and kind of tight thoracic mobility, you're going to be doing some arm swings and some banded passovers, just to kind of get that upper body kind of moving and mobilizing. Again, if you've got someone who, if you're prone to kind of lower body issues, again, the squat is going to be a great pattern, a great movement pattern, or going some single leg drills, some arabesques, standing on one leg, hinging at the hip, kind of body weight, single leg RDL. So removing the weight from a single leg deadlift and just doing the arabesque, just doing the movement pattern, hinging at the hip. Yep. If we wanted to bring some band work in, we could be doing some banded lateral walks. We could do some banded knee drives. We could be doing some banded pull aparts to engage the upper back and upper shoulders. And then we could be getting some low-level plyometrics, some pogos, some 2-to-1 drills, some lateral hops, literally just jumping up and down on the spot and just pausing on and standing on one leg just to kind of load those single legs, just to prime those calves, prime those Achilles, get those hamstrings fired up. Hamstring bridges, single leg elevated glute bridges, all exercises that I would be quickly prescribing you guys 2, 4, 6 exercises, probably taking you 30 seconds per exercise, or you could be making them couplets or making little triplets of them, to just binding them together and just doing a little circuit twice through, 3 times through, boom, out the door. But it doesn't need to be you don't need to be overly complicating it. Again, body weight band is more than enough. Think in full body approach, which is what I just gave you a number of exercises, top and bottom. We're doing it because we want to prime your system. So you think about exercises that are going to get you engaged, fired up, kind of you're feeling a little bit of a pump in your glutes, in your hamstrings, in your calves, in your upper back, boom, off you go. And it's got to be non-negotiable. So there is some of the top tips I want to just be running through with you guys. It's literally the non-negotiable. When you're thinking about the running plan or the distances or the terrain or the kind of the routes that you're going to be taking, right at the front of that conversation in your head, you're putting that warm up. But what am I going to do? What do I need to just make sure I'm ticking off there before I go out the door? Boom, right, done. And that's just part of that conversation that you're having. It has to be there, guys. Okay. And then, guys, to wrap it up, like in terms of the format, again, 2 to 5 exercises, and you can literally select 2 to 5 and just to create a couple of little mini circuits. This is kind of what we do for our guys. We literally get them to do like A, B, C, D, E, and then they go through 5 to 10 reps of each, and then they can move into their session, whether it be an S&C session, whether it be a run session, swim session, bike session. And we have for different environments, we have different little routines depending on kind of the specifics, and you can be a bit specific on what those needs are in that for that session. Definitely, if you're working on run mechanics, you want to be working on that kind of hip hinge. You want to be working on that kind of getting that hip extension going, driving that knee through. You want to be thinking about some of the loading mechanics of your running, so you want to get some plyometrics in there. If you're more in the saddle, then you want to be working on kind of those single leg maybe exercises to get that kind of force going through those your legs, working, making sure that you've got a nice freedom through your lower back and glutes. And then if you're in the water, well, obviously you're going to be working on that kind of engaging your lats, upper back, your core, your central, kind of your lower back and lower core as well. You just want to be engaging that kind of full body approach. So loads you can be doing, guys, but we have to make it an absolute non-negotiable in our programming, because it really is a preventative. Like, how often do you hear about people just pulling up short because they very quickly within a training session because they pulled something, or you feel dysfunctional, you just feel like you're just not in the zone, you don't get going until the 3rd or 4th K or 20 minutes into a run. Well, it's because your body's not in sync, and that's where this warm-up's going to come in. It's really going to kind of get you it's going to organize you. And I can't stress that enough. Like, so much of your strength work, your mobility work, your warm-up work, is about bringing this level of organization to your body. And you are disorganized when you wake up. You're disorganized when you're at the end of the day, when you're kind of heading into that session. Take a moment, organize yourself, collect your thoughts, get your head in gear, and then you're going to have way more effective session. It literally is going to be the thing that's going to it's a massive preventative of injury. Like, it has to be, because you're just going into those sessions in a better headspace. Your body's more kind of neurologically primed, and you're good to go. All right, guys. So hope that was useful. Want to keep it short and sweet because I want it to just be kind of I want to put it there, put it in front of you, make it a non-negotiable in your sessions, guys. Make it repeatable. Make it so that you can just turn up, do it, brainwash yourself in the nicest possible way. You want to have those key exercises that you just lean into time and time and time again. And literally, I can walk into a room full of our SFE crew, and I can literally call out exercises, and They do them, because I want them to be able to do them when they're young, old, tired, fresh. I don't care. I want them to be able to just fall into those movement patterns confidently and comfortably. All right, guys. Hope that was useful. I'll speak to you soon.